Male Partnership Series. Good evening, everyone, and welcome to our Black Male Partnership Series. My name is Eric Westbrook, the Director for the Mayor's Office of Black Male Engagement, and I'm excited for the conversation we have for you here tonight. We launched our Black Male Resource Finder earlier this year, and it has been a great addition to the services that our city offers, that many of our folks in our city and community stakeholders offer so many different services. And yet sometimes those services go unheard of in multiple parts of the city. Depending on where you live, you might hear about this or you might hear about that. But if you don't live in those areas, you may not. Well, we want to bridge those gaps. And thankfully tonight we have a powerful discussion to talk about that, bridging those gaps and really highlighting what the Black Male Resource Finder actually does and why it's important. Well, we have the creator of that finder here with us tonight, our Black Male Partnerships VISTA, none other than Minomi Lord. And we're excited for her being here tonight. She's been our VISTA for the last 2 years, and she is a powerful, dynamic person who has brought so much energy to this space. I'm thankful for her being in this role and taking such a personal stake in this work. Minomi comes from Virginia. She is a graduate of Old Dominion University, and she has blessed the city of Philadelphia with her presence. And Philadelphia has blessed her as well, as she loves our city. So without further ado, I want to present to you all our host and moderator for the evening, our Black Male Partnerships VISTA, our host and moderator, Minomi Lord.
Thank you. Thank you. Good evening, everyone. I just wanted to talk about the Black Male Partnership series, as we wanted to create a series that not only brought people to the resource finder, but also highlight the local organizations on the finder. And I also want to bring attention to the process of how the finder came together. So when I first came to the Office of Black Male Engagement, they told me that they wanted a digital database that basically housed all the information of organizations that specifically help Black males in Philadelphia. And I really didn't know to start. So my first suggestion from Eric was to reach out to the commission, the Mayor's Commission of African American Males. And with that, I got a lot of resources. And during this series, I want to highlight a commission member who reached out and with a lot of resources and tonight, and his name is Eric Marsh. And then I also want to highlight 2 organizations that is featured on the Black Male Resource Finder, sorry. And yeah, that's it. So I have a few questions for, as we get this process going. I had a few questions for Eric from MCAM. And if you want to introduce yourself, and then I'll just ask you a few questions.
Absolutely. So first of all, Minomi, thank you so much for not only inviting us here tonight, putting this conversation together, but putting the resource guide together. First, I want to say, my name is Eric Marsh Sr. I am the newly appointed chairman for the Mayor's Commission on African American Males, but I've been a commissioner on MCAM for going on 3 years now. And I have to tell you, at most of those 3 years, at least the last 2, I've been hearing your name. I've been hearing OBME, Eric and Octavius singing your praises. And I've been seeing the work that you've been doing behind the scenes really come to light. So to see this resource finder actually get launched and is live for people to access, I just want to congratulate you and say thank you for the hard work that you've done in supporting Black men in this city. So thank you.
Thank you. Okay, so the first question that I have for you tonight is, how is it important to the commission to have a resource like the Black Male Resource Finder?
I mean, it's vitally important, right? So for those of you who out there don't know anything about the commission, the city of Philadelphia has multiple advisory commissions to the mayor and city council. The commission that we're talking about tonight is the Mayor's Commission on African American Males. And what our mission is to advise and inform the mayor and city government about issues and concerns that impact Black men and boys. So this resource finder is vitally important and directly connected to not only our mission, but the mission of the city in serving its residents, specifically its Black male residents. I think this is something that's been long overdue. And it's something that a lot of different agencies around the city actually work towards and try, right? When you talk about services, when you talk about programs, any sort of social service organization, they look for resources and they want to direct their clients, their participants, and their constituents to resources. So the fact that OBME and the city of Philadelphia has put this together, I think is just a win-win for everybody involved. So I think it's vitally important. So again, thank you for doing this work.
Thank you. Okay, so we also have Corey Delaney from the Center of Black Male Engagement here tonight. And do you mind telling us a little bit about the Center of Black Male Engagement?
Yeah, of course. And again, thank you for having us. Echo everything that Mr. Marsh Sr. has said. We appreciate your work, Manomi, Eric, and Octavius, in making sure that Black men in Philadelphia have access to these resources, such as the Center for Male Engagement at the Community College of Philadelphia. So in 2009, the program was started from the Obama era My Brother's Keeper initiative. And really at the center of it, the mission is to help Black and brown men attending CCP stay in school and graduate, right? With that though, we realize that as many of us know, Black men face certain barriers that are systemically put in place in order to see failure, right? So what our job and our mission is to retain and help these Black men graduate. The core of our work really is around helping break down those barriers or build ladders so our students can overcome them. So we all know, I'm not going to go over the various, reasons that contribute to these systems put in place, both, economic, the criminal justice system, education, lack of seeing oneself in their community and what they're seeing on a daily basis, seeing themselves in successful places, all tied, of course, into this racism in general. So our work really counters those systems through holistic programs, and those programs vary from life skills, which I like to say are the tools to help build what you need in your future. So that could be self-defense. That could be yoga and breath work and meditation. It could be financial literacy. It could be basic things, how to file taxes, how to change a tire, things that we, aren't often taught as a skill, but that really can propel us in different situations whenever we need them. It's always, we always say, if you stay ready, you don't have to get ready. So we like to make sure that our students stay ready for any situation that comes. We also offer career programming through our career achievement program, where we strategically place our students in internships within their major. I always tell students that out of all the job interviews that I've had in my 10 years of professional experience, not one has ever asked me my GPA, but every single one has asked me my experience in that field or industry. So if we can definitely get these guys as early as possible in the game to get that experience in their field, that's a win for them, because then they have something to speak to when they go into these interviews or when they go into their college interviews for transfer. So we also realize one of the barriers to growing in higher education for Black men is financial. Some of our guys have to work and make money to support themselves and their families and loved ones. Oftentimes internships are not paid. So we, at the Center for Male Engagement, we have a budget where we pay in the range of $2,000 to $3,000 per semester for our students to go into these places. Let's say they want to work at the mayor's office, right? So we'll contact someone there, like Eric or Octavius or Mr. Marsh, and like be reaching out to y'all soon, to get our guys experience in these places, and then we'll fund their experience. But getting that experience is key. Uh, Mental wellness, again, we are not mental health experts, but we are Black and brown men who have existed in Philadelphia and, you know, the nation and all that comes with it. So we can speak to our mental wellness journey, and we really try to destigmatize therapy, asking for help, which are again barriers put in place. That, you know, if you ask for help, you're seen as weak. If you go to therapy, you're seen as quote unquote broken, or you know, like you're not a man. If you cry, you show emotion. So we try to destigmatize that by having real talk conversations and engaging our guys and ourselves as coaches being vulnerable, and sharing our own experiences. Speaking of coaches, we work on a cohort-based model. So each of our support coaches have upwards of 75 students in their cohort, which they are directly responsible for, making sure that they have these resources, they know these programs exist, and help making those connections to other institutions or within the college itself. Um, and then our work is always centered. So I always say that everything we do, everything we show, we put in everyone we bring in front of our guys, we try to make sure that they can see themselves in whatever we're presenting or with whom we're presenting it with. So we try to make sure that it is African centered in its core, meaning that they can see themselves in the presenter, whether it's a yoga instructor is a Black man, or it's down to the pictures we use in workshops. They can see themselves in the slides, because again, you can't be what you don't see. If you want to show ourselves in a successful light to counter those narratives in which we are often not seen that way. So as you can tell, we're multifaceted. We do a lot, but we are, you know, we are one. We always say that, you know, I am because we are. So the work that we do always is circular. I have, you know, mentors in my life, and I'm, you know, I'm giving back now, and pretty soon the students that we work with will be giving back as well.
Wow, thank you, thank you. And if you want to find out more about the Center for Male Engagement, you can find that on the Black Male Resource Finder. So I will ask Eric, why is it important to have the commission's input?
Well, that's what we're here for, right? The whole purpose of the city of Philadelphia having multiple commissions is so that citizens around the region, around the city, who represent a particular demographic, in this case, Black men and boys, have some say, have some input, and have a direct line of communication with city officials and leaders, right? So the same thing applies to this resource guide. If we as Black men, if this is a resource guide specifically for Black men, who better to ask what resources do they need, and or what resources are effective than the Black men and boys of this city. So that in and of itself is the reason to approach the commission. But the other great thing about the Mayor's Commission is that these gentlemen who have stepped up to be commissioners and who have served, the commission has been around since actually Mayor Good's time was when it was first introduced in the last year of his initial term. And then Mayor Nutter introduced it formally. And then through the work of Council Member Curtis Jones Jr., it was introduced as a ballot measure to make it a permanent standing commission, which is the only one of its kind at this point. It was actually introduced into the charter. So the Mayor's Commission actually holds a special place in this city. The Mayor's Commission on African American Males holds a special place. And those individuals who serve as commissioners have a long track record, a history of serving their community, of being tied and directly connected to those resources. And sometimes, as you'll find out later, like myself, often providers of some of those resources. So MCAM is just a great resource that the city really actually doesn't tap into enough. And this is just one step in the right direction.
I agree. I agree. Okay, so Corey, why do you think it is important to add CME to the Black Male Resource Finder?
Yeah, great question. So, again, at our center is to retain and help Black men graduate. At our core is serving Black men. And people often ask, like, what's my job, right? And I say, well, for some, I'm an Uber driver. For some, I'm a big brother. For some, I'm a father figure. For some, I'm a, therapist. All these different things. It's each student uses us different, right? And I really believe that being able to be multifaceted as a coach and as an assistant director is key in our work, and getting access to as many Black men who want to attend college as possible is key in continuing this work, right? Our goal for CME and programs that come out of CME is for CME not to have to exist, right? This program exists because of broken systems put in place strategically to see us fail. So our goal is to help these men overcome these barriers, change systems within their power, and hopefully we won't have to see CME 30 or 40 years down the road. But that comes from making sure that we continue to get Black and brown men of any age. It's just if they've never been to college before, we have a wonderful summer enrichment program that really helps whether you're 17 or 70. If this is your first time going to college, we want to make sure that we assist you in that process. We also recognize that we see the individual as a whole, right? So whether academically or in personal life or in careers or we always bring our full selves wherever we go. So we always address the whole person and not just the different intersections that he crosses. So it always centers again around having students to serve, and making sure that we are multifaceted enough to give service to those guys, and addressing that holistic person. I also want to add, oftentimes those who are not familiar with our work or work like ours that we all know, and probably all the attendees are familiar with. Sometimes people think, looking outside at CME, our job is to, and I'm using air quotes on purpose, fix Black men, which indicates already from that person's mindset that you think something is inherently wrong. And you're approaching this kind of work from a deficit model, which we are antithetical to that. There is nothing wrong with Black and brown men. There is something wrong with the systems put in place to see us fail. So in anything I say from past, now, or in the future, I want to make that clear, that our work is not to fix anyone. Our work is to help these guys get through college so they can educe that knowledge of self and collective responsibility in their community. And then if enough people do that, there's a huge umbrella of just support that reaches over our city. But again, that comes from the Black Male Resource Finder, like Minomi created, to make sure we have access and people know about this program and many others.
Thank you. Thank you. I feel like your point on that the system is broken and that Black males aren't broken, it's the system. I feel like it's like the perfect point when it comes to when we are trying to make programs and resources accessible. Like, I feel like that was perfect. So I'm going to ask both of you guys this question. Eric, you can go first. As a Black male in Philadelphia, what does it mean to you to have this resource?
What it means to me, it means somebody's life could be saved, right? And I don't mean that to be hyperbolic. I really mean that, because there are so many young men, Black men, older men, as a matter of fact. I just was talking to a gentleman who's without a house, without a home, on Market Street earlier today. Like there are so many Black men of all ages who need these resources. Some of us only need it for a day or for a moment. Some of us need it for longer than that because we've fallen into a deeper hole, right? When Corey talked about the systems in place that keep us down, there is a system in place. It's called, the United States, government, right? And it's not just the government, but the fact that we live in this country, this system that's built on oppression, and specifically oppression of Black men, not to negate Black women, Black families, right? But we're speaking specifically about Black men here tonight. This resource finder really does mean everything because it serves as a repository, a warehouse, a hub for people to go to and find all sorts of services. And I know it seems relatively simple, but for anybody that's been caught up in the system in any kind of way, whether you're homeless, whether you've been in the adoption system or social service system, welfare, any of those government systems are extremely difficult to navigate, especially with the understanding that we live. Somebody mentioned the phrase earlier, you're bringing your whole self, right? So as Black men, we bring our whole selves and all of our issues collectively with us wherever we go. And it's often difficult when you got to go to one agency that has to deal with housing and you're dealing with that, and you got to go someplace else. We say, oh, I need information about finding a job. Oh, well, you got to go someplace else for that, right? So the resource finder actually serves as a single point of contact for folks to then be able to go out and fish for themselves. And I use that phrase fish deliberately, right? The concept of teaching a man to fish, right? This is someplace that an individual man could go to say, listen, I need X, Y, and Z today, right? And because we all bring our whole selves and all the baggage that comes with it, what I need today might not be the same thing I need next week or next month. But you know where I know where to go? I can go to this resource finder and type in a keyword for however I'm feeling or whatever I'm struggling with that particular day. And it will give me some results and a starting point, a place to at least cast my line and start fishing for those services. So I really do think it is transformational, it's groundbreaking. It's really, really important. And the reality is it's only as good, using this fishing analogy, right? You got to stock the pond. It's only as good as the resources listed in it. So for everybody that's out there that's watching this, if you feel like your services apply and that Black men and boys of any age can utilize the services or the resources that you provide, then you need to submit your organization's information so that it can go into the resource finder so Black men and boys can find you. Because without it, again, it's really hard out here to be able to find one place to go to get all your answers, to all your questions. So I think it's vitally important. I keep using that phrase, vitally important, but it really is that. It really is. You've done an exceptional job putting this together. So yeah, thank you.
Thank you. And yeah, I just wanted to point out to avoid the runaround. And like you said, one day you might have an issue with one thing, and tomorrow you might have another issue with another. I feel like that was the main point of the resource finder, to prevent that runaround, because it's already hard at the end of the day. I just want to make it one step easier. So thank you for that.
You did a good job.
Thank you. And for you, Corey, the same question. What is it, as a Black male in Philadelphia, what does it mean to you to have the resource finder?
Yeah, I want to ditto everything Mr. Marsh said, as well as go back to the point that it truly is vital and could be, in any instance, life-saving. Like I mentioned earlier, all of our students in the CME program use us in different ways. Sometimes, they might ask one thing one day, or I might see them twice a semester, and some students I might see every day, and they're always asking certain. And if we're being honest, it could be taxing for myself, and I'm sure others who do similar work, to do the research and the digging and trying to find the resources that could assist our guys in a variety of areas. Because again, we always bring our full self, and with that comes the fullness of life. And there's all these different areas that resources that could help, but until now, there may not have been a central place where I knew I could just go and I like Mr. Marsh said, typing in keywords or tags that quickly pull up and filter to the resource that would best serve our students is game changing, because it literally saves time, which means that I have time to then serve more students. And then the other point is it really is Sankofic in nature. So it's really this looking back and remembering, right? Whether it's looking back and remembering, oh, I wish I had this, or it's looking back and saying, oh, this is my opportunity to tell my friends who are in these certain areas that assist Black and brown men, to make sure that they get on this. Because again, it's all about that looking back and remembering, but with that seed, with that egg to then give to those who need it. So I have a puppy who's 2 months and he is riled up. So I apologize for any noise, but it truly is Sankofic, right? The idea of looking back and remembering where we come from and then planting that seed is truly vital and game changing. So to have this resource is incredible and vital. I'll add as well.
Okay, so the last question for the night. Eric, I have a question for you. Why did you start your nonprofit organization, the Fathering Circle?
Ooh, oh, that's a good one. Thank you for asking that question. Why did I start the nonprofit, the Fathering Circle? Well, first, let me just start off by saying that I'm not solely responsible for its existence. The Fathering Circle actually came out of an amazing initiative called Philadelphia Assembled, which was an art as social justice movement, right? So there were hundreds of artists that were brought together to address social issues through the use of art. And it just so happens that one of those topic areas that was brought up was fatherhood specifically. And really, what does the future of fatherhood look like? And so those of you who know artists here in the city, my sister, who recently passed at the start of the pandemic, her name was Denise Valentine, AKA Story Mama. And Story Mama was part of this Philadelphia Assembled collaborative. And so when she heard the topic fatherhood come up, she knew that I had been involved in different fatherhood organizations, such as Frontline Dads and Daddy University for years. And so I got involved with this group of artists and we started collecting father stories, specifically to create some art. But one of the things that we found when we get fathers together to talk about what it's like being a dad, nobody wanted to go home at night, right? Because nobody asked fathers, what does it feel? What is it like for you to be a dad? And so the act of communicating and talking with other men about fatherhood was cathartic. It became therapeutic. And a lot of those men were able to open up and start sharing stories about their childhood and what it was like for them with their fathers, and how we're in a new world and a new time where men can be stay-at-home dads, men can be more open and expressive and spend time with their children and do all the things that past generations found it difficult to do. And so because of those men and their sharing and the fact that the sharing was therapeutic, I realized that it was important, we realized that it was important to maintain the groups, even though the project and creating the art had long passed. And so we've been around now 5 years. Within the first 2 years, we served over 200 dads, just through our Fathering Circle events that we do every month. We also hold play dates with fathers and their children once a month on a Saturday, where we bring dads out, they bring their kids together, and we get a chance to play in a way that's liberating, but it's also a way that we get to watch our children's brilliance and understand how children are born into this world with their own unique gifts. And as men, we're so used to being taught to be the leaders, to be in control, that sometimes in the process of fathering, we can sometimes overshadow or tamp down our children's greatness and their ability, their innate wonderfulness, right? So through our play dates, we get a chance to see them lead, and we get a chance to see them grow. So it really just came out of the fact that we really saw that fathers and men don't get a chance to really talk about something like this, right? Like you can see, I see Corey shaking his head. So when you get a room of men, like we used to talking all tough, we could compare our jobs and what we drive and how we dress and what latest watch we got and all of that. But when you're talking to a dad and you ask him about, oh, tell me about, oh, you a dad? Men light up completely different. And it taps in a different part of you as a human being. So that's the reason why we started the Fathering Circle. That's the reason why we continue the Fathering Circle. And for anybody that's interested in reaching out to us, again, the contact information is in the resource finder. So we'll share the link to that later on. But if you want to reach me directly, you can call me directly, 215-487-5918. Again, Eric Marsh, the Fathering Circle. And Manomi, thank you so much for asking that question, because I light up when anybody asks me that question. So thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. So Corey, for you, last question. Due to the pandemic, enrollment rates for Black males have declined. With this, why is CME and their services so important?
I'm first going to say, Mr. Marsh, I'm definitely going to reach out to be in that fathering circle because it's so true. Yeah, I appreciate your work. So to your question, Manomi, again, there's this in our nation, in our region, in our state, in our city, there is this great resignation. There's folks who are not persisting with their higher education career and journey, and it's due to, again, many different systems and variables. But particularly for Black men, all of those systems that I mentioned earlier are heightened because of, again, the stressors of making sure that we're financially stable and our family's good, making sure that we're healthy and safe, making sure that we have access to different things that make sure that we're good. Our main goal at CME is to help Black men persist through higher education at CCP. And just to point to some data, at the beginning of the pandemic, at the early on of the pandemic in fall 2019 semester at CCP, and the data until fall 2020, our persistence report showed that college-wide students persisted around 45.7%, right? So 45%, 46% of those students, Black, white, Latinx, male, female, non-gender conforming, all, like everyone, 45.7% of those students persisted from fall 2019 through spring 2020, and then back into fall 2020, really at the beginning of the pandemic lockdowns. Non-Center for Male Engagement Black men, so Black men who are at the college but not a part of CME, 30% persisted in that year. But when it comes to the data for Center for Male Engagement guys who are part of our program, 56.7% of our students persisted, right? So not only are we, and again, it's not like a race, as it were. There's a proverb that I always tell our students: if you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go together. It's my job to reach out to those guys, those Black men who aren't a part of our program, who are doing this on their own, to bring them into our fold so we can run together and go farther. Just like the data is pointing to, we are almost 30% higher persistence than Black men who are not a part of our program. And we are 10% higher than the college overall. So the data shows, and it's been proven that this program works. It's not just in the quantitative data, but the qualitative data. If you come into our office, like Eric Westbrook knows, it is a magical place where, like you said, Mr. Marsh, you have those, egos that men in general sometimes have, but when you walk through the doors, that space just kind of starts to chip away at those walls faster for some than others. But we like to coin, and I heard Eric Westbrook is gonna make me laugh. I watched the video where Ricardo said that he looks at Ricardo is a former CME support coach, and he likened CME physical space to an academic barbershop where you come in, you can rap about anything. You can talk about sports, popular culture, uh, you know, serious discussions around homophobia and the Black male community, and we get into that. But it's a safe place where all of our students again bring their full self, and sometimes they might bring certain ideas that I don't believe, but my job is not to change their opinion. My job is to give advice and again show them other possibilities so then they can make that choice, and that really is what sticks with a person longer. So the physical space really is magical. Due to the pandemic, though, of course, we lost it, right? Things were shut down nationwide, like at CCP. So our office was closed until recently. And yesterday even, oh man, yesterday there was 10 guys in the office for the first time in over 2 years. And the joy that filled my heart, because while we persisted in providing support and programs and one-on-one meetings with our guys, and of course we do still do the financial assistance whether students need help paying for books or transportation to and from work, need help accessing our CME scholarship, or just need help getting to different resources at CCP or in the city. We still did that, but that physical space was lost. Yet, like the data shows, our students still persisted. So the reason why CME is important, especially due to the pandemic, was because of the support that we offer, especially now more than ever. It was a crucial part of keeping our guys not just academically engaged, but socially engaged, emotionally engaged. There would be times, whenever it was kind of let up in the pandemic, I would, mask up and I would walk with some of our guys who were really going through the social isolation. I would take them out to the Wissahickon Park. We would socially distance, masked up, but take a hike and just walk with someone else, and talk about things. That really did a lot for those guys who needed that. So that support through this adversity was crucial for them. And then just to access the information. Whenever the school closed down, like Mr. Marsh mentioned earlier, one of the key benefits of the Black Male Resource Finder is having one place to go and not get the runaround. I cannot tell you how many times students come back frustrated. Whenever we were in person, students would go to financial aid and they would say, well, now you got to go to tuition services. And they would go there, and then, oh, you have to go to counseling. Oh, you go there, you have to go to bursars. After that, I don't want to go anywhere but home because I'm over it. It's frustrating to have all these different places if you don't know where to go or turn to. So CME's role is me or one of our other support coaches, like pre-COVID and now, we walk students to the places. And I make sure that they feel empowered to ask the questions that they need, to wherever they need to go. And then if they need help, like they're getting run around, I step in and I say, okay, we want this, how can we get it? And that's built through the support we have. There's so many offices on CCP's campus. As well. But when the pandemic happened, things closed. Or if a student wasn't a part of CME or a program like it, how that runaround is exacerbated by 10, 20, 30 fold, because now you're trying to call people who may not answer because where they at, they're not in their office. They got a Google number, but sometimes that doesn't work. So I have to send emails, and the emails might get bounced back because it's just it even became more frustrating for us for some of our students. And then when we step in and say, hey, like let's solve this, and a few emails, a few calls to some folks we know in offices, and it was resolved. So the access to information on where to go for what you need and to get it in an efficient and effective way, is why CME services were so important. And yeah, I'm gonna stop there because I can go on, but it truly speaks to the work that we are doing. We are needed, whether in a pandemic or not. It's important work that is evergreen until the point where the systems either are broken down and we can recreate them, or they get better through different group effort, individual effort, and what have you. But until that day, we will be here, pandemic or not.
Great. Thank you so much. Thank you. I just want to say thank you guys for taking the time to have this conversation about the Black Male Resource Finder and giving you guys insight. And like Eric said before, the Black Male Resource Finder is not a finder unless it has good resources. So if you guys have any resources or know of any resources, there's a link on the bottom of the resource finder. If Eric wants to share his screen, Eric Westbrook, to show the link at the bottom. It's not the actual, let's see. Our request form, it's at the bottom, suggest a resource. Yeah, we scroll down to the bottom. And then, yeah, this is just what the resource looks like. I just wanted a visual so people have a visual of what we're talking about, where we have all of the resources divided up into 12 focus areas. So if you do have a specific area that you want to get into, so if someone needs a mentor or some form of like reentry program or like job, economic development, there's all broken down alphabetical order. And then also on the right-hand side, it'll show you where it's located in Philadelphia, which I feel like makes it easier because some people might live in South Philly and the resource doesn't even to North Philly. So easier to see it on a map where it's located. And those two resources that we highlighted today, the Fathering Circle and the Center for Male Engagement, are on this resource finder. And yeah, that's really it. But like I reiterated before, it is not a resource finder without resources. So feel free to add any resources that you know, spread the word. And I really do appreciate this conversation that we had tonight.
Yes, and I appreciate you, Manomi, as well for facilitating this and bringing us together for this purpose, as well as Mr. Marsh as well, and Eric and Octavius for having us. Thank you.
Yes, great job, Manomi. Thank you so much. And thank you to OBME for putting this together. Thank you for everyone who's watching and for the folks that actually chimed in the chat. It was really encouraging to see some brothers saying they're showing up, looking for resources, looking for support. Yes, thank you, Charles. Thank you, Will. Thank you to other folks who've chimed in.
Well, thank you everyone for being a part of, again, a wonderful series. The beginning, this is part one of this series, and we're super excited. Again, Eric Marsh, thank you from the Fathering Circle, Corey Delaney from the Center for Male Engagement. Hopefully this will bring even more folks to the resources that you all have at your programs. Thank you for being here tonight and giving us a greater glimpse into the work that you all do. We want to continue to build bridges that strengthen our community and that allow our community easy access to the necessary resources. Well, thank you all for being with us again tonight. Shout out to our Black Male Partnerships, Manomi Lord. Thank you so much for your leadership and the questions that you brought and that great information that we all can take with us as we go on from here. Well, it is Friday Eve. Hopefully you have a great Friday Eve, and tomorrow is your Friday. Hopefully the end of a great week. And thank you all for being with us here tonight. Have a wonderful rest of your week. Take care.